Destruction Warlocks are the simplest Warlock spec to start with, but if you want to actually do big damage, you need to understand more than just pressing random buttons. This guide will get you started with Destruction Warlock as quickly as I can while explaining the why behind our decisions. Destruction Warlock is built around generating and spending a resource called Soul Shards. You spend those Soul Shards on 2 of your strongest spells. Chaos Bolt for single target, it always crits, hits hard, and it costs 2 Soul Shards. And Rain of Fire for AoE groups, it does area damage and it costs 3 Soul Shards. But how do you actually get those Soul Shards? You've got 3 main spells to worry about: Immolate, Conflagrate, and Incinerate. Immolate is your damage over time spell. You toss it on your target and let it tick in the background, building up soul shard fragments every second or so. If it crits, you get even more fragments. Conflagrate is your instant cast nuke. It has 2 charges and it gives you a big chunk of fragments with each press. Think of it as a quick injection of your resource. Incinerate is your main filler. Every time you're not pressing the other 2, you're spamming this. Each cast adds more fragments and crits mean more. So basically you're juggling these 3. Keep Immolate rolling, use Conflagrate when it's up, fill the gap with Incinerate, and watch your soul shards stack up. Once you understand this core cycle, we can start to talk about the build and hero talents, because this is where things start to get interesting. For Mythic Plus, we will be using this build. Now, for talents, there are some flexibility and you can tune things depending on the dungeon or your group. If you want to push your AoE even higher, you can grab Soulfire. It's a longer cast, but it slaps really hard, applies Immolate, and builds a soul shard. You should also pair it with Decimation. This will make your crits to sometimes reset Soulfire's cooldown and make the next cast super fast. Don't bother hard casting Soulfire, only press it when you have a Decimation proc, which makes it almost instant and much faster to use. It still applies Immolate and builds a soul shard, but there's no reason to sit through a long cast. Alternatively, if you want to sacrifice some damage to gain more mobility, you can drop Soulfire for Shadow Burn. Shadow Burn is instant, uses a soul shard as opposed to generating one, and hits even harder when the target's low on health and lets you spend soul shards while moving. If you take Shadow Burn, try to never cap on its charges and use it for quick on-the-move damage. If you get a killing blow with it, you get the soul shard and a Shadow Burn charge right back. If you also take Conflagration of Chaos, you'll sometimes get guaranteed crits and even more damage for your Conflagrate and Shadow Burn. Both setups work, so swap them depending on what you're running and what your team needs, but generally, I would recommend going with Soulfire. That was the build. Next, we'll go over our hero talents. Hellcaller is by far the most popular choice when it comes to Destruction Warlocks. When you pick Hellcaller, Immolate gets upgraded to Wither. You still want to keep Wither on as many targets as possible, just like Immolate, but now it's an instant cast so you can quickly apply it. You also get access to Black and Soul. Every time you spend soul shards, whether it's on Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, or even Shadow Burn, all of your Wither effects gain a stack. These stacks are crucial. The higher the stack count on the target, the more burst damage you get when the stacks collapse. Stacks can collapse naturally when you reach 8 stacks, if the target drops below 20% health, or sometimes just by chance each time Wither gains a stack. When a collapse happens, you start losing stacks 1 per second, and each lost stack deals a burst of damage. This is a big part of your AoE. And of course, you also get Malevolence. This is your big 1-minute burst. Before you press Malevolence, just make sure Wither is active on all your targets. This way, each one gets the full benefit. When you activate Malevolence, all your targets with Wither take extra damage. Each soul shard you spend adds 2 Wither stacks instead of 1, up to an additional 8 stacks per target. And you get a big haste buff, so your casting and soul shard generation speeds up. Now, after learning the basics and our hero talents, here is how you actually play Destruction Warlock on a single target. Let's go step by step through your main priority list. Your first priority is to keep Immolate, or in Hellcaller's case, Wither, up at all times. This is your baseline damage over time spell. for research generation and synergy with our hero talents. Never let it drop. Your next priority is to cast Chaos Bolt if you're close to capping soul shards, or even as soon as you reach 2 soul shards. The main goal is that you don't want to waste soul shards at all. However, a lot of the time you would just cast Chaos Bolt as soon as you can for eradication, which I will explain in just a moment. Chaos Bolt is your only shard spender single target, and it's the highest priority to get as many of these out as we can. Your next priority is to use Soulfire as soon as you get a decimation proc, but make sure you're not overcapping on soul shards. This keeps your soul shards coming in and applies Wither, and you want to prioritize using this proc as soon as you can because you cannot hold more than one at a time, so holding it means missing a potential for another proc. It's also a banger of a global cooldown. Your next priority is to use Conflagrate before you overcap on its charges. Space out your Conflagrate cast in single target to maintain higher uptime on the Roaring Blaze debuff, instead of just dumping charges. Use the Backdraft passive from Conflagrate on your next Chaos Bolt for a faster cast. Your next priority is to keep Eradication up. This effect increases your damage for the next 7 seconds, so refresh it with Chaos Bolt. This is another reason you would want to get to a large number of soul shards and send a lot of Chaos Bolts in rapid succession. If you're running Shadowburn, always use one charge regularly and save the second one for when you need to move or to quickly reapply the Eradication debuff. Your next priority is to use Wither with Cataclysm if you can hit multiple targets. Otherwise, if the targets are too far apart, stick to normal Wither. Cataclysm makes keeping Wither up on multiple enemies easy, but even in single target, you would rather use it on cooldown just for the additional damage it does. Your next priority is to cast Demon Fire when Roaring Blaze is active. Roaring Blaze is a talent that buffs your fire damage, so line it up with Channel Demon Fire for maximum damage. Your next priority is to use Conflagrate to apply and maintain Roaring Blaze. Try to time Soulfire and other fire spells during Roaring Blaze for extra damage. Then your next priority is to use Conflagrate as needed for more soul shards, so don't overcap the charges. Otherwise, just fill downtime with Incinerate. This is your main filler for generating soul shards when nothing else is ready. Finally, we have Summon Infernal. I know I'm not the only one that saw this part of the cinematic and said, "Holy, I can summon this guy?" Summon Infernal is your major 2-minute cooldown. It drops a meteor on the ground, deals AoE damage on impact, and then pulses damage while it's active. Most importantly, every time your Infernal deals damage, you gain extra soul shards, so you'll be casting more Chaos Bolts during its uptime. You would want to pair Infernal with your offensive racials, trinkets, and whatever you have. So here's the macro I use for it. This just means I won't get the green reticle thing when I try to summon the Infernal. This is just my Blood Fury racial, and this is my trinket. Of course, just replace whatever racial you might have that actually increases your damage, or just remove it if you don't have one. Same goes for the trinket. In Mythic Plus, you would want to use Infernal as often as possible without losing a use. Always try to line up Infernal with Malevolence for maximum efficiency and damage. Pairing them is much stronger than using either one alone, so time this combo for big priority targets or heavy damage windows, but don't hold it for too long. Because Infernal has a 2-minute cooldown while Malevolence has a 1-minute cooldown, you can fit 2 Malevolence uses in between each time you use Infernal. This was the single target priority. When you're fighting groups, your focus is the same. You generate soul shards and spend them as efficiently as possible using the right spender for the situation. And the start of the show is Rain of Fire. Your priority above 3 targets remains the same as single target, with the only thing is changing, we replace our soul shard spender to Rain of Fire. Now, this ability can be either cast on your target or in a targeted location, just like Summon Infernal. If the targets are too far apart or the tank just hates Warlocks, actively sabotaging your DPS by moving the packs just a few meters to the side, and you just spend soul shards So every soul shard you spend means more procs of Ritual of Ruin and more spawns of Avatar of Destruction, both of which just means big damage. Now the observant ones might be asking, wait a minute, we spend our soul shards on Chaos Bolt when we have one target, but Rain of Fire on 3 targets or more. I get that, but what about 2 targets? This is where Havoc comes in. Havoc is a special ability that duplicates your single target spells to a secondary target. This instantly makes Destruction the king of 2 target cleave fights. You can either apply Havoc manually every 30 seconds to whatever target you want for a 50 seconds uptime, or alternatively, you can opt into Mayhem, which causes your single target spells to have a good chance to apply Havoc automatically to a random nearby target for 5 seconds. I recommend going with Mayhem as it's a very low maintenance compared to manually looking for your second target to pick to use Havoc on. Now on 3 targets, if you have Havoc available, you would use Havoc and cast Chaos Bolt. It will hit 2 enemies. However, if Havoc isn't up and you have more than 3 targets, switch to spending your soul shards on Rain of Fire. Another thing to keep in mind, Havoc not only duplicates your spell damage, it also doubles your soul shard generation from your shard generating abilities. For example, casting Soulfire during Havoc will generate 2 soul shards instead of 1, making Havoc even more valuable. Right, that was everything you need to know to get started to play Destruction Warlock properly in Mythic Plus for the War Within. I want to thank Baby Brain from the Warlock class Discord for going over this guide and making sure I didn't say anything dumb. If you found this guide useful, consider hitting the like button and subscribing for more class guides just like this one. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.